All right. Does it work? Is it on? Yeah? Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well? Yes?
No,
Nice.
like it.
Cool. How are you? Everyone good? Is this your first session today?
Oh,
Yes, no? Okay. Great. Well, welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you and to see so many of you here. In this session, we're going to talk about unlocking the Swiss startup support ecosystem. A lot of S's I noticed when I wrote it, but doesn't matter. My name is Merle. I'm here in the name of Swisspreneur, and I'm very happy to guide you through this session. And I'm here with three wonderful people, and I will introduce them to you before we go into it. So first, on to my right, we have Pascal, who is the co-founder and CEO of Bloomhouse Ventures, a seed and early stage startup investor, so many people will come up to you afterwards. You're also the president of Founders 2, which is a growth program that's also guided by top Silicon Valley coaches. But actually, there was once a time when you worked in banking and in telecom. So maybe you can tell us and the audience what drew you out of that world and into the startup world.
Yeah, so I do have as well as you an entrepreneurial background. So I was bootstrapping my own company in the IT space, telecom space in the early 2000s, and I grew that company up to 40 million in revenue. And after that, I transitioned it to T-Systems, and that's why I do have this connection to the telecom and ICT industry. And after that, came up, okay, what's next? And I was always fascinated by angel investment. And I then said, okay, I think there is a lack of entrepreneurial-driven VCs in the market, So there is a lot of financial VCs in the market, and we definitely need them. It's not something that I would say against financial-driven VCs, but I think we need them mostly later stage. I do believe that early stage is very, very important. That you have entrepreneurial-driven VCs who really understand the entrepreneurial journey and know what it means. How to hire people, how to, what finance means, what go-to-market means. And that's the reason why I said, okay, I want to do a little change for the whole ecosystem and founded Bloomhouse Ventures.
Well, and we're very happy to have you here and share your insights with us.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you very much. And then next up on the panel is Wendy, who is not only the founder and CEO of Encuentra24, but also the founder of VR Ventures. So when we already touched this, so this is a perfect transition to you. Do you believe also that being a founder makes you a better angel investor?
I can only speak from my experience. And I believe so, that yes. But not only being a founder who has created a company, but also anybody who's working deeply in entrepreneurship and any kind of support system around it can definitely help and support founders through angel investing. So yeah, definitely.
And now you also share your insights through EO, Entrepreneurs Organization.
Correct.
Give that on.
Yes, I've been volunteering for EO for the last 2 years after my exit from Encuentra, and I've been honored to be able to serve on the board helping the accelerator, which is an EO accelerator that helps entrepreneurs in Switzerland so that they can, during this 2-year program, they can scale and grow and reach above 1 million in revenue. But not only that, but they have access to an amazing network of entrepreneurs for coaching, for guidance, for mentorship, and this is definitely a valuable system for them. So I'm very happy to be part of that.
And we're happy that you're part of this panel. Thank you very much. And one of the founders, actually also who is in the EO network, is Sam, who's the person sitting all the way to the right.
Just got recruited.
Yes.
Just recruited.
So the three of us are EO members.
What a coincidence.
so many ties in there, right?
many
But we'll get to that.
Brilliant. So Sam, you're the co-founder and co-founder of Novo Campus and Novo Office, and you will tell us a little bit later on what that is. I'm personally excited, obviously, because I'm, fun fact, joining Novo Campus as of next month. So I'm personally very excited to have you on this panel. But maybe you can take us back and guide us through what excited you most about building the Novo work and being a founder in that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an intense journey, especially the past 2 years, right? And if I look back, it's so funny because we've started Novo Office 4 years ago, and we've started off with home office equipment as a service, and we actually thought this is the big next thing. It wasn't, and so and then we were like pivoting and so forth, and so that is still now our core business. But 1.5 years ago, we started a new company, Novo Campus, and this is then like a 4,000 square meter on-site campus. So from home office equipment to like a 4,000 square meter on-site campus is quite a switch, right? And this is what also excites me. And besides that, personally, really, what excites me is building purpose-driven spaces, right? So Novo Office, just brief background, it's kind of a carvolution for high-quality office equipment. So equip entire office spaces in a subscription-based model, rental model, and so on. And what we do is also we combine new with Second Life furniture. And to create spaces where people can interact and they get inspired and so on in the context of Novo Office, but also like as part of the Novo Campus, obviously, that really fascinates me and keeps me up at night.
So we want to talk today about what makes the Swiss startup ecosystem the way it is. So what do we have here? What can we learn from outside? What can we learn from these people? How should you approach things? Where can you go? All these brilliant insights. And I want to start with you, Pascal, because you actually in your intro also mentioned this. What, in your opinion, makes Switzerland a unique environment for launching specifically? And maybe how has it evolved? Because you've been in this ecosystem for some time, as you mentioned. How has it evolved over the, past decade or so?
Yeah, I think first I want to mention, when I started my first company in 2002, I mean, venture capital here in Switzerland was not really there. Probably there was some people who were also investing into companies, but it was not ecosystem. It didn't have had such events like here, like the startup days. So when I started my first company, then, I was going to my bank account, took the 20,000 to found a GmbH, and then I needed to do business and to get customers from the first day on. So there was no really ecosystem who supported me, and there was also no really financial investors who were where you could pitch and where you could ask for money. And I think that when you look at the crowd who is sitting in here, that completely changed in the meantime. But it's still, I think it's still a long way to go until it is, and there is more potential, until it is really, really scaled out, So, but coming back also to your question, what is unique about Switzerland? I think the uniqueness here in Switzerland is that it's a very small country, we have, but also a very diverse country from a cultural perspective, also language perspective. And we do have a lot of industry represented in this small country, which is super unique, So when you compare it, for example, to the US, where you have in Texas all the oil and gas industry and the banking is in New York, the distances are really, really big, And here in Switzerland, we have this uniqueness that we have pharma, that we have finance, that we have a lot of industry really on this very, very small place. And on top of that, we have really, really a good education system.
And I wanna touch on this uniqueness also with you, Wendy. What was your experience also when you came to Switzerland about the Swiss startup support programs that were out there and today? Like, do you at some point maybe even think it's too many, or is it good enough? Like, what is your experience with it?
I don't think you can have too many of these programs. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that are growing out there and that are wishing to have space in some of these incubators and accelerators and programs that are available, and also having access to coaches and mentors that are ready to share their knowledge with these startups. But yes, comparing it to Panama or to Latin America, we don't have that much at all. We have probably one incubator, one VC, and I found out that there's one group that is creating angel investors because when I came to Switzerland, I came already 13 years ago, but when I decided 2.5 years ago that I wanted to become an angel investor, I was completely nervous and I couldn't find where to learn to do this. So I ended up joining some, like 3 courses at least, and a board course and a business analyst course and everything to be able to learn these things.
Yeah.
And it was great to have this infrastructure available. Not only that, but all of the angel groups, they show you how to become an angel investor, how to invest, how to see about the companies and the founders and the potentiality that they may have in this market. So I think it's great. I think it's great that it's out there because most of the founders need to understand like what they're getting into, and that it's a journey and that it's a very long path. And if they do it right and they have access, like I said, to education, to some of the incubators and accelerators and trainers that are out there, and kind of these models where you can see, what's my product market fit, what's my go-to-market, they just get this white paper path that is quite amazing, and then maybe in less time they can reach success versus in Latin America where we're still kind of trying and testing and traveling somewhere else to learn these things.
So a bit more guided.
Yeah, it's much more structured here in Switzerland, and that can be appreciated.
I would like to know who in here is a founder. Can you maybe raise your hand? What else do we have in the room? VC? Ecosystem? Who are you two? Where are you from? Bank. I forgot that one. Okay, so corporate founders. Okay, but that's good, because then I can ask this question because I wasn't sure who's in the room. Do you maybe want to name a few of the programs that you can recommend to founders?
Oh, definitely the accelerator, the EO Accelerator. It's a 2-year program that helps founders, like I said, to scale, and we focus during the year on their cash, which is their finance and money and pricing. We focus on their people, which is their culture within the company, identifying A players or people that they probably need to get out of the structure of the company. So it's also important to say. And we focus on execution and also in their strategy for the next year. And I've seen the program, I've been there with the trainers, and it's amazing what it can do. And it's a proven method that can help founders. Also for me, when I was starting to found FIAR in Switzerland, I went to my forum and I was asking, and a lot of them guided me to be advanced here in Bern. And it was great because they gave me a complete structure of like, go to this bank, go to this notar, go to this accountant, and I could have a conversation with somebody that knew exactly everything that I wanted, and it was really great.
That's very helpful. Sam, what was it like for you? Because when you were founding Novo Office, I know you did not make use that much.
Hey, I'm the example, I think, on the panel of like how not to do it, and also we could have really accelerated things in the first 2 years very much. Maybe some background where we're coming from. So my business partner, co-founder, and I, we were working in the same management consulting company. Started at the same day. We're leaving after 4 years. We were leaving on the same day to found Novo Office. And maybe at the beginning we thought, hey, I mean, how can it be, right? And we've been, especially the first 1 or 2 years, we've been more like ex-consultants than really entrepreneurs. Because I mean, these programs, obviously, they provide different types of resources. One is definitely a financial one. I mean, what we did is we were buying furniture for 100,000 francs and didn't pay ourselves a salary for 2 years, literally. And we tried to like survive and so on. And this is something which, going back, hey, maybe we could have structured that a bit differently. But a second element for me is really the mentorship element, and also which I'm now joining EO and also like to have like this broader exchange around all these topics. But there it's really the element, hey, we could have avoided certain like topics, or we could have pivoted quicker in the very beginning, right? Because we were like so stubborn of that home office solution, and then we were like talking to 300 or 400 companies, and when maybe there's only one or so telling us, hey, let's give it a try, we should have maybe pivoted a little bit early on. And the last one is like the network, right? And also, which I think is really a benefit of these programs, because also, hey, we thought from consulting, we do have like a broad network and so on. But I mean, startup ecosystem and companies buying furniture solution, a whole different game. And so therefore, it took us a bit 1 or 2 years to learn, pick up, and everything which was happening like now within Novo Office, Novo Campus, and so forth was like really happening in the past 2 years.
I like that you mentioned also mentorship, because I think this is something that's often neglected, but not only as a business, but also as a person. It helps you so much to grow to the leader that you kind of want to be, which I think for every founder is really important. Pascal, I would love to know from you, because you work in Switzerland, but also in the US, correct? And what, in your experiences, do you think we can learn, on the one hand as founders, but maybe also as like program creators, or as the Swiss startup ecosystem from the States, and maybe vice versa?
Yeah, so I think, what I see the big difference is, for example, in the US, the venture companies, they are very big, so they have almost billions under management. And with that, they also have a huge team, and they have a huge operative support they can give to the founders. They have people who are good in hiring, they have people who are good in go-to-market, in finance, and they can provide a whole operational team as a support, And here in Europe, we don't really have that, Those venture funds, also Blumhouse Venture, they are small. They are somewhere between 10 millions, probably up to 100 millions, or later stage, they are a little bit bigger. But in early stages, it's very important that those founders who probably just dropped out of the university, they are doing that for the first time. They didn't have any leadership experience. They do the first time hiring, and often they just hire the best friend out of school, and not probably the ideal candidate for go-to-market, And I think there, the US VCs can provide a lot of support, and we don't have that here in Switzerland. I think we have to look for how can we overcome that to such programs like Founder Square or like EO Accelerator, that we can help those startups, that they are not doing those mistakes, So I think that's very important. And we look also on in the US market, what's happening, what is changing, and what's going to be the next. So, for example, short info, we were like 2 weeks ago, we were at Berkeley Skydeck pitching, and what we saw is that the new pitching is more storytelling. It comes out of this influencing, Instagramming thing. So it's not about just presenting the company and presenting the product and presenting the value of the product. It's more about pitching a story. What is my personal connection to the problem or to the solution? And that already completely changed in the US. I see the first pitches also here in Europe in this direction. But definitely in the US, it's storytelling, it's story pitching.
Is this something that you think is already enough implemented in the programs that we have here in Switzerland?
So I think currently, and that's what we also trying to do with Founder Square, we still have the feeling that there is a lot of efforts from the VCs, but it's not really a consolidated effort. Each VC is trying to do that by his own, And then there is a lot of like programs, like InnoSwiss programs with coaching and stuff like that, which is also good, but it's mostly very, very focused, So when you get a coach, it's a go-to-market coach, and he believes strongly go-to-market is the most important thing, and you have to do go-to-market, 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 and not hiring. So we are currently really missing a little bit the holistic approach, and we strongly believe that like EO Accelerator or Founder Square is providing those holistic approach, because it's not only about go-to-market, or it's not only when you have the finance coach, he thinks finance is everything, and you have to be all the time assured with your finance, So it's a holistic approach. It's about how to grow as a founder, how to grow as a leader, how to become a good leader, how to lead yourself, how to lead your company, how to lead your team, And that needs a holistic approach, and not just on one specific topic. And I think there we can do. I personally believe there we can do much, much better.
So now we basically know what we want and or how we want it to happen. But of course, we need to find mentors. And a day like today, for example, Startup Days, is probably a good opportunity to network. And some days, I think networking can be really tough because you're not in the right mindset and you just don't want to network. And then other days you're on fire and you're good in talking. So I want to have now two different perspectives from both of you. Sam, first the founder perspective. How do you either maybe personally effectively network, or do you have any tips on how to effectively build a network?
Very good question. I mean, especially like for us coming into that industry, right? We had like literally we didn't know anyone. I mean, I would say tip number one is really show up smart. And I mean, not in a sense of being smart, but really really pick and choose where you go. I mean, at the very beginning, we showed up at every event, and it was like, okay, now, and then we realized, okay, I mean, we cannot do this, and also like the output, and then we completely scaled back and said, okay, we're gonna not do it anymore, and now we really try to understand who is actually attending which conferences and so on, and who are the participants really going there with whom I want to talk, right? And to figure that out, I mean, we talked to different founders as well, because I mean, we haven't figured it out on our own as well. Second point, which really helped us, I mean, sometimes it gives you a late night shift, but is really, hey, give before you ask, right? So there's a really cool book from Adam Grant, Give and Take, and I mean, the idea is really of like, hey, sharing interests, connecting people, and so forth, and going forward and doing that, and hey, it will pay out like in the long term, and people will connect, obviously. And the last point is really being present, and not only like in the moment, but also like having and what we're doing with the Novo Campus, right? Like a physical location, and this is for me the mindset has really shifted there. Initially, I thought, we can do it all online and so on, but if you have like a physical anchor where you are, I mean, contacts are like really developing into just strong connections, right? Where you can actually build some stuff, and these were like the elements which at least it took me some time. Maybe it sounds very obvious for some of you in the audience, but to truly understand the value in it, right? And then there are obviously networks and so on, right?
Yeah. Yep. And from your perspective, Wendy, also as an angel investor, how do you maybe approach, but maybe also how do you like to be approached from founders?
I like it when they understand a bit what I invest in. Sometimes it's frustrating when they speak with very fancy words about their company, and I have no idea what they're talking about. And I really can invest in them, and I can help them. So the storytelling approach is something that kind of works for me best, obviously in English. But yeah, it's for me understanding how can I help, because I understand it's not only about money. Sometimes it can be obviously my experience, my network, or my mentorship and coaching. And if I can be of support to that company and bringing that also to the table, that for me is much better than when they come from another industry that I have no idea how to support them. So if there is a clear understanding of that, definitely I'm open.
Do you prefer setup meetings or like random coffee run-ins?
Setup meetings.
Good to know. Taking notes.
I've become very Swiss in that. I have my plan and my structured day, and then
I love it.
Maybe merely to also put it into context, right? And I mean, my answer before was like as general as it gets, right? Because we didn't do this VC. Maybe I need to provide some background there, right? Because at Novo we are like very untypical like setup. We are heavily capex, so we need these guys sitting there like the banks, right? Financing, providing us debt, and but we bootstrapped that entire thing. So we bootstrapped it till we got the debt funding, and no venture debt or so on in between. And so therefore, like my networking element, we've never pitched to VCs because they don't want to invest in furniture anyways, right? And so for us...
Never say never.
Never say never, yeah. If it is a high-tech furniture.
If it's a high-tech furniture,
And not in public, come on.
Yes. But I mean, that was like really the approach for us of just like getting into the industry, getting to know who's talking with whom and so on. And that's why I mean putting like these rather general hints and tips into context, right?
And when we look at founders who come from international backgrounds and want to set up in Switzerland, do you have any recommendations for them?
I guess to be prepared, I mean, except for this panel, but to be prepared that not as many investors or people in Switzerland speak English. There's like a conception that English is international, and when they come here, they feel everybody's going to understand their pitch. And also, I feel that they should come with a lot of time to network, to come around moments where there's events like this, and they can leverage the contacts that they make during this event to later have follow-up appointments. I think that's a huge one. And also, I think to take advantage of the infrastructure that is here, like I said, all of the incubators, the accelerators, the scale-up courses, the entrepreneurship, mentorship opportunities that are given here in Switzerland. I think that would be huge for startups that want to find at least Swiss investors, to be able to speak that language.
And Pascal, right, connecting to that question, in what way do you also believe that maybe academic or research institutions play a role in that?
Yeah, I think they are, in my point of view, they are very important because, as you know, here in Switzerland, we inventing quite a lot, you know. We are one of the countries with the most patents per, I don't know, million inhabitants or whatever. And I think they are also crucial, you know, because they do a lot of research, they educate all those engineers and stuff like that, and this is very important. So in the meantime, they do that quite also on a professional way, that they have those incubation program or accelerator program, where they also support students, you know. They also organize pitch days and stuff like that. So I think they are really important. I think what they could do a little bit better is often we see like out of ETH, you know, which is an amazing university, we see a founding team of 4 people, and 4 are engineers, you know, and no one wants to go to market or is having a business administration background. So I think there probably universities could do a little bit better in like matchmaking, so that they would try to combine, you know. For example, someone who wants to found a company from HSG St. Gallen together with one of ETH or something like that. I think that universities could still support a little bit better, but I think we are on the right direction. And probably to add also on Wendy's or on your question before, I think especially the Swiss Startup Association is also doing quite a good job, especially when you haven't found yet your company, when you want to get information about how to found a company, what is needed.
Yeah.
They do have really, really good content on their website about that.
I think I also saw, I don't know if it was from EO or someone else, a map of all like ecosystem players. It was really good information because I cannot tell you where I saw it, but it's out there. So
Ask ChatGPT.
ChatGPT will tell you.
I mean,
Yes. Well done.
before the event, I was also thinking about like showing up at the event where I don't have like an idea of all these programs. I almost did it, and I was like, okay, hey, I don't gonna pretend people can like use ChatGPT on their own, so I'm gonna share the story.
Google it.
But same.
Exactly. So I would love to give also the audience a chance to ask questions if you have any. Before that, I want to ask one question to all of you, which is based on your experience, what are like top 3 advices that you would give to someone launching their startup in Switzerland? Who wants to go first?
I mean, I can go first, right? I have been thinking about the question.
Very good, Sam. Very good.
Hey, I mean, there is this risk aversion in Switzerland, right? And we can feel that from not only the client side and corporates and so on, but also like from the founder's perspective, because we have something to lose, right? So we were like, the opportunity costs are very, very high instead of comparing to other countries where it's like, hey, earning literally nothing or like trying to make a living, where we are at different pace. And I think there is really an element of, hey, try to really in that context, validate before you scale. And I mean, personal story there, at the very beginning, the home office equipment, hey, we were like there and we thought, hey, we need a platform and it will cost us 50K. Maybe in the VC context, 50K is not so much, but if it's on the out of your own pocket, it's like really a lot of money. Luckily, we did like very crappy solution and it didn't matter whether like the crappy solution or like the good one, and no one actually bought it. And so therefore, really validate before you try to scale. Second one, which we learned the hard way, is really leveraging the ecosystem. So it took us some time. I think now in the meantime I understood it, joining EO and also being like the future member engagement chair. And the third one is also fairly specific to our perspective, really play the long game, right? So because, I mean, we are in there and that also builds trust. We're in there and maybe it's also like an element of a bootstrap startup, but we want to like build it. We are very consistent of what we do. Also, for example, with the campus. I mean, if we want to do some short-term money, we shouldn't be building a 10 million campus on 4,000 square meter because it's like a big investment upfront and that will take time. And that actually also in our case really increased the level of confidence of all our partners of how we act and how we approach that. And I think that, at least in our case, really helped very much.
Wendy, do you have any advice?
Yeah, a few.
Oh, yes. Shoot.
I think the first one would be to network. I think at least in Panama or Latin America, it was very difficult for me to get in contact with certain people. There's this separation of, I am the boss of this or I'm chief of that. And here I feel it's quite easy. You can get an appointment with somebody, a call, coffee. And during these meetings, you can really leverage it. You can, ask questions or ask who can you meet. And also be prepared to ask the same question, like, what can I help you with? So networking here has been quite amazing compared to Latin America, where they will just like not give you an appointment or not take a phone call. And also here, I feel the concept of pivoting. Like I never heard the word pivoting so much until I got to Switzerland. It's like in America, if we want to change something, we just change it. We don't think about it. But here it's like, but we already are going in this direction and we can't change. I was like, just change it, just do it. So I think this is something that can be improved. If something is not going well, just choose another industry, another market, try something else, and keep your business afloat and do it quickly, and not think so much about it. And the third one will definitely be to take advantage of all the opportunities that are out there, all the awards, all of the startup events, the investor events, the angel groups, the university, the incubators, the accelerators, all of them, they are really great tools for building companies. And it took me 17 years to be able to build my company and to exit because I had to do trial and error and hit a wall and get investors in Malaysia from Panama. And there's an easier path. You have it available, then use it.
That's really good advice. Any last words from you, Pascal?
I think what I really see often is that there is an idea around, and then startups really jump directly into execution and try to really realize the idea. But I think I more and more, or I hope, and I give you the advice that you do really first a proper research about it. So, for example, the last startup we invested into the company, they were doing a research over 1 year. They were interviewing 200 customers, to really see if the idea they have had in mind, if it is really a problem or not, and before they even started building up the company. And I think often I see that there is not a lot of research done before, and especially we as a VC, we then normally when we do the due diligence, we are going to the market. We ask for the problem, the industry, and often we get then different feedback. And if you do that from the beginning, right on this research, I think you can better structure at the end what your solution will be. The second thing, I think it's an advice I can give you. Really follow your purpose, try to really build up a purpose and do purpose-driven thing. I think that you feel also what you want to realize, that you are really aligned with that purpose, like you hear it also from Samuel. I think that's also very important because we as an investor, we really feel that, and I think that's also very important. And probably the third thing, try to leverage your network wisely, So for example, we as a VC, we like to get warm interest because we get every week. So in our company, we get every week 140 pitch decks, and we have to filter that out. And so when you get warm interests, that helps. So use your network really wisely to get those warm interests.
So today is a perfect opportunity to grow that network. Do we have any questions from the audience? Does anybody want to grill any of these three?
The question is, who has the first one? Apparently, we need to use the microphone,
Yes.
right? It's a recording, I think, so it's good. Sasha instructed us to.
Oh yeah, if you could speak into the microphone.
It's,
because fun fact, this way be a podcast afterwards. Yes. Fun fact.
Is it working? I assume so. Hi, everyone. I'm James. So I'm a young co-founder. I just finished my PhD from EPFL, and I'm doing a startup where we want to manufacture electronics in a more sustainable way. And the issue I come up with whenever I talk to VCs is my capex initially needs to be huge because you need the infrastructure to make this electronics. And they either recommend going to Asia, where everything is done for super cheap, but then I miss out on the Swiss ecosystem. So my question is, for a startup that's focusing not only like on SaaS or software or services, but really hardcore manufacturing, high tech, where you need a high amount or large investments, what do you do?
Yes, on the back.
Shall I?
Go ahead.
First.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's always at the beginning when you need to do your first financing round and you come up and say, okay, I need 10 million or 5 million. that's always critical and always hard also to raise. We see that normally really good startups, they can rent such kind of equipment. So they can rent laboratories at universities, or they find other places where they not have to build up and to invest heavily into infrastructure, and they can just use it, rent it, and then they can probably in the first 12 to 18 months really show that it is working, that there is a MVP, that this is possible, And normally, if you have reached that after that, it's much, much easier then to also getting investments which goes in the direction of CapEx. So that's how, try to be really smart, so that you don't think, okay, I need now to own everything, so that you can also rent things like you rent also the office. We also saw startups, they have had in the plan that they want to invest 100,000 K in furniture, and we say, hey, let's go first to the co-working space because that makes much more sense. You can use those money much wiselier than just buying furniture with it.
Okay.
And my perspective on it would be like the very small perspective on this platform, which I was sharing, right? And there we're only talking about 50K. And the question is really, well, when you get your hands dirty and you develop whatever you want to develop, also like with a hard tech angle, I think while you are in there, your perspective will change what is really needed. And so our approach then was really trying to peel it like an onion and trying to understand what is really the core product of it, and can I bring that down so that it's not so costly in the beginning, because going out there and saying, hey, I need this amount of money, it's going to be pretty hard. I mean, we were very early on also having like a super nice polished ex-consultant pitch deck, right? And said, hey, if we have that amount, we can deploy that, this will like result in this recurring revenue. And that was like really, really tough. So therefore, I mean, my suggestion would be really to look at it and trying to understand what elements can you like take out, and really rather start step by step instead of like with the full shebang and trying to do it.
And I would maybe also recommend to talk to other startups that have done it. There are a few Swiss startups that have like heavy hardware and needed to raise a lot of money at the beginning. Ask them how they did it, where they got the money from. And if it was outside of Switzerland, then maybe that's a sign.
And I don't know much about electronics, but I know about Asia. And if you have this opportunity to go there and to see how they work, because they do work with a certain level of efficiency and speed. And if you can somehow learn that and bring it here, where salaries are and offices and furniture is very high, you could, gain some leverage.
Or maybe one more thing, which also like comes up
Getting a
to,
lot of
and maybe that's already the ex-consultant mind, right? Maybe you were not even asking for that. So really gather around like other experts in that industry, because if you have like a super strong team and it's not only you saying, hey, this is the next big thing to people such as Pascal, and say, hey, you have like a team of like which is very diverse with different experience and so on, and also maybe like get the buy-in of like senior guys from a certain industry that already did that, because that also helped us in the furniture industry, like reaching out to people who are already in the industry for 20 or more years. And we told them about like our idea, and this is, by the way, how we approached then banks, where we said, hey, we're gonna buy it at X, and if shit is hitting the fan, we can still like get rid of it and find like different options, right? To like just like leverage that risk.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We unfortunately don't have time, or do we? Do we need to get out, or do we have some time? Oh, do we have more questions or not? Okay.
Oh.
No, I don't know who was first.
So, as you pointed out, we are representing the banks here. So, just maybe a quick question. You said something about also financing by a bank, or maybe I didn't get that correctly. But maybe how do you perceive the banks in Switzerland? Do they support growth? Do they support in networking? Was it possible to get a financing from a bank for your capex-heavy business? Maybe you can tell us something about that.
Hey, absolutely. I mean, it's been a bumpy road at the very beginning. I mean, a traditional way would be like founding the company, then like raising some equity, then venture debt, and then like proper debt, right? And we tried to like jump ahead of all these steps, and our approach is really just we are actually creating deals, and where we have future income, we were like structuring, and really what I just said, trying to get out the risk out of it, so we could still like sell it off and so forth. And then we tried to early on really establish contacts within these relevant banks and for us. And now what we managed to do is really we do have like a debt vehicle that we can pull. And I mean this is I mean we need a few millions to finance what we are actually deploying. And it's been so far a really good collaboration in that sense. I think since we were really breaking down on all the risks, being very transparent, and also had like a use case on which we could build up step by step, and we were always like achieving what we were actually projecting in the year before. That really helped us. But I think it's been really not the traditional way of bootstrapping a startup and then having like really this direct financing.
I think also, I mean, I think a few banks are very present. You can also see it here. There are a few that have, I think often it's cantonal banks also. And there, I mean, there I see that the support is really big, and they're very open and interested also into hearing about the stories of the founders and understanding the startups. And maybe if it's not a case for them at that point, they will be like, okay, come back to us in X amount of years. So I do think there is a presence and...
Absolutely right. I mean, what we could see, obviously, like the big merger, which was a takeover, how we kind of call it, that also had like an impact on us. I mean, we could also tell that there are different philosophies going on within these banks. In our case, it's really, and you don't want to like ask, but I think I don't need to explain this to you guys. You don't want to like ask for debt when you're like with the back to the wall, right? When you don't have like any other option. And so this is what we like try to project, and we are like talking. We have like key partners also banking wise, but when like for example the debt wouldn't work out for like the next like bigger projects we're doing, we would have like 3 other options that we can actually pull. And these optionality that always like helps us to be not too dependent on saying, okay, we just have that one option, right? And otherwise it wouldn't work out. But I mean, this is definitely an element, and I thought also the Kantonalbanken are also like interesting in terms of like talking with them. There's like lots of dynamics and developments which we see, and some of them have like more of an appetite in also like investing that towards like bigger players.
I think probably to add on, I think the banks are very important also in the ecosystem, you know, because on the ones who are going to make it, they need at the end banking for transfers and for also structuring, like for example, heavy asset investments and stuff like that. But on the other hand, I think you could also help making networking. So for example, bring in wealthy people, you know, who want to invest into startup and try to match them probably directly with startups or even with VC funds, you know, and also help them how they shall select those startups, or how shall they select those VC funds. You know, I think that could be very, very helpful, and support the whole ecosystem, that more money is flowing into the direction of startups.
Does that answer your question? Good. Then we have one last question. I think you had a question, right?
Partly with this, since you gave this example of the combination with debt, and how does it influence the valuation later on in the next financing stage? I mean, how because some of the investors, especially international investors, are skeptical when you have too much debt in your financing. So how do you do it? Did you manage to attract investors after this round?
That question is meant for me, right?
Yeah.
Hey, lucky enough, we are absolutely not in the valuation game to do like this beauty contest for venture capital. Hey, it is, I mean, we got the feedback when we initially said, hey, we want to increase our debt table. We got the feedback of, hey, who's managing the finances at your company because you already have like this amount of debt, right, in your books. Hey, what I just mentioned before, it's a balancing act, absolutely, right? So in the end, there is a certain, you become dependent, and we are, I mean, with Novo Office, we are fully bootstrapped, right? And also with the Novo Campus, and the Novo Campus, it's a 10 million project, right? And we manage it without external funding or like equity funding. Let's put it that way. It gives us a certain flexibility in what we do and so on. But we need to be very careful, similar as with an equity table, where you don't want to have like people, investors all over the place, and you need to cater them and so on. It's very similar like in the debt space, right? So if we were like different vehicles, and then it's about the maturity of obviously like these different vehicles, then we need to be very careful. And in the end, I think it is for us way more a relationship business than which bank it actually is. So that we are very close with our key account manager, that they really know what is our business, and that we are very transparent when we need like additional debt and what are like our options, and that we don't like do this strong game in saying, hey, I mean, these are like the options, but rather like go back to them. So therefore, it's like more like this balancing act. Not sure, did that answer your question? Yes. Because I mean, it's like really this limitation of like, in our case, where there is no like equity valuation going on, since we are like the only shareholders in the company. That's why I tried to at least put the light a bit more on the debt element there.
All right, I would say we will finish with that. We heard 3 wonderful stories and insights and experiences, so thank you so much also for answering the questions of the audience. Before you all leave, I hear you're packing up. I want to do some short promotion. If you're interested in hearing more really cool startup stories, you should check out our book that we just launched at Swisspreneur. Thank you, Sam.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's been a huge, long road to get that book together, and it has some wonderful startups from Switzerland, their stories, their ups and downs. You can buy it in all kinds of languages. You can check it out. Please don't take it, but you can check it out. You can buy it, of course, if you want. Or if you want, you can enter a raffle if you want to win one. If you do that, just come to me. I'll be here.
Very nice.
And yes?
Actually, the presentation or like the opening thingy,
Yes.
book launch is at the Novo Campus.
There will be a book launch party.
Such a coincidence. And she's going to be like the next, not the next, but she's going to be the head of Novo Campus, right? So
we're all in this together, aren't we? Yes. The ecosystem is small. Once you're in, you're in.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.